Later on, the bend of the rib will come as the stronger she gets from her haunches. And again, in the field here, it's big and roomy for her brain. So when I tax her by asking circles before that are difficult, she doesn't see them as I'm giving her a claustrophobia thing. And I keep my hand, if I need it, to open up so I don't lose her shoulder. Another thing that happens when you try to force that bit thing is the pendulum of the shoulder is lost, and then they start breaking from the knee. So, and then after that, it's on the forehand, and then after that, the hocks break down, and the back is sore, and blah, blah, blah. So, I'm trying to show the perspective of a green horse going to a second, third level position, and not the finished product of how you get there. We're still working off the left hind, and that's the one that she's the most familiar and strong with. But as time goes by, the one we'll warm up on and will be the most honest and true will be the right hind. Now, on the left hind, she's not used to having to have the outside of her left body stretched and going around. She stretches more because the right hind was the weaker hind, so she inevitably is longer on her right side of her body and shorter on the muscles of her left side of her body. So we're getting the longer muscles along the outside of her left side of her body, and we're introducing her right hind to step deep underneath her, still keeping those haunches square and parallel with the ground. And if you see that right hip go down, you'll see me counter. Now you can't see her head and neck because I'm counter bending her head and neck out of the way so she can keep that right hind stepping under and through and keep the right shoulder open. This also helps when you're doing counter-canter, because inevitably when they're counter-cantering, I don't do the counter-canter of the finished dressage counter-canter. I do it for the exercise of stretching both sides of the body. Now we're going into our trot, and we've warmed up enough now that she's going to really start coming through from behind for her trot. We've just started our extension, or learning our extension to drop our haunches, and so she doesn't really have her haunches dropped all the time, but she's starting to get the real medium trot. As you see, when she wants to lower and break from the pole, I sit as far back as I can behind the vertical to put more weight towards her haunches, and I lift my hands up so she can get her nose up above the vertical to use her shoulder and forehand. Sorry about the grass being so long. They haven't cut it lately, and we've had a tremendous amount of rain and heat, so our grass is growing fast. But you can see the ambience, so to speak, of her body over the ground. And once she gets a little bit stronger, she'll be able to really set those haunches down. And the more they set the haunches down, the more the front end from the shoulder to the tip of their point. Now see how she puts her head up there, and I sort of let her brace up against my hand. I take my hands out almost like a ballerina on the bar. She's not gripping onto it, but it gives her a balance to go up on point. And since this is new to her, to sit down on her haunches and not do the training level, long, low neck carriage, I'm in there. You can see I'm sitting way behind because I'm asking her haunches to slow down and do a little bit of a nanosecond longer step and getting out of her forehand way. And then I'm trying to keep my hands forward and asking her to keep her nose up out of the way so she can stretch her forehand out. It's also, when you're teaching a horse, not the lengthening, the extension, the real true extension. it's a different feeling for them, just as it is a 4-foot oxer. The hang time, if you will, is there. So you have to give them an open feeling. That's another reason why I love this field. It's psychologically speaking, I'm not trapping her and gagging her with my rowels to go bigger steps out of a corner of a stupid dressage arena. I'm giving her psychologically the whole field. And if she needs 60 meters or 150 meters or 2 meters, you have that. And psychologically speaking, she doesn't feel trapped. Now, as she gets tired, you'll notice that she'll want to put her nose down and deeper. And I'll try to lengthen, and as she gets tired too, I'll allow her head and neck to lengthen. Because lactic acid is building up now, and she's not used to having this frame. And so I go from more of a collected trot, and I get her haunches well underneath her again, and her nose into a trot that's easier for her to sustain. And then I ask her again for a lengthening, and then I go back to a collection. So it's not all a physical thing, it's also a feeling for them to understand that they can drop their haunches and they can keep that hind leg on the ground just a little bit longer, so they can really use their front end from behind through in the rhythm. Now, the more RPMs, the more power you give a young horse, the harder it is for them to maintain a new position. So I'll go back and forth. Collection, and it's sort of a little rest mentally and physically, and then back to the lengthening again. As you can see, this mare, she really is cooperates. When I first got her, her tail looked like that a flying butterfly, and now you really can tell she's liking this stuff because she's not whooping it all the time, and if anything, she says, oh, that's a little difficult, but she's very happy. So the tail is telling me that I'm asking a lot, because she'll twirl it sometimes, but I'm not asking too much, because for huge interims, the tail is just flowing. Now, each day I go on a horse like this, not each day, every 3 or 4 days when I push the envelope like we're doing today. Other days I fluff and stretch, but it's not every day pushing the envelope. Part of it is getting more of a bottom to them mentally. So eventually the tail, the body's strong, the mind's strong, and the tail is going to be totally water over around rock. I think I have some old films of her tail. It constantly moved up and down and everywhere. And now she's really grasping the fact that this is hard work, yes. But she actually likes it.